Good damn afternoon, Americans. Jericho Green here with you once again. Make sure you check out mygreengear.com. Oh yes, I got a web store. So you may or may not have heard, a few days ago, there was a shooting in Chicago. I know. America's shooting range. It happens all the time. Yes. This is one of the more rare shootings. This wasn't citizen on citizen. This was cop on citizen. Oh, and you better believe it. That's why it's even a thing. They got their Rubik's Cube of racial give a shit, and the colors line up. White cops, black victim. Uh-oh. That's like sending out the race pimp, the race baiting bat signal. Instead of a bat, it's a cop like this pointing at a black kid. And when they put that symbol up in the air, they come a-running. And they already had two shiesty lawyers talking about it. Talking about how this young man was just dragged on the ground like a rag doll. That's what they said. He was dragged on the ground like a rag doll after he had been gunned down by these savage, racist police officers. So what happened? Well, this kid had his little bag on, and inside the bag he had community beautification tools. He had some gloves, some gardening gloves and some shears, to clip the bushes back. And he had a little broom in there with a dustpan so he can go around and sweep and clean up the area. And he had latex gloves and trash bags so he could go around and make his city beautiful. And at the time, he was whistling Dixie. The kid was just cleaning up the neighborhood, not bothering anyone. He even had one of those sandwich boards. Remember they used to have back in the day? And even on the front and back, it said, "I'm not bothering anyone." And he's just picking up trash, beautifying the neighborhood. He'd stick his finger out like this, and a little bird would land on it, and he'd whistle and talk to the bird. He was a good kid. And in his pocket, he had candy that he was selling for a local sports team that he didn't even play for. He was just a good kid like that, and he liked to see other people doing well. And as he's whistling Dixie and talking to nature and beautifying his Chicago neighborhood, those cops came up and said, "Hey, are you black?" And that kid was like, "Well, yes, sir." And they just drew down on him. You remember that scene in Predator where they're all in a line and they're just shooting into the jungle, letting them have it, cutting down the vegetation with their lead. That's what they did to that little boy. The cops just lined up and they all just drew their pistols. Then they said, 3, 2, 1, kill him! Boom, 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 boom. And the cops are just emptying their weapons and they drop their magazine. They grab another magazine and reload. Boom, boom. All the cops, they're all doing this. Thousands of rounds. All through this kid's little 13-year-old body. And his candy bars and tools and gloves and the bird he was singing to, pieces and shit are flying everywhere. It's carnage. It's chaos. And after the kid was shot on the ground, all his beautification tools everywhere, the police went up to him and they dragged him. There were one that got his arm, his hands, and one that got his feet. And they said, 1, 2, 3, and they just threw him. He slid along the pavement in a Chicago neighborhood, blood smeared everywhere from his thousands of wounds. And after the kid was laying there, after he had been dragged, just like a rag doll, like the lawyer said, just like a ragdoll, all the cops, they got around him in a big circle and they all went at the same time. They were like, 1, 2, 3. And they all spit on this little black child's bullet-riddled body. Damn it. Just kidding, guys. That's not what happened. You know damn good and well that's not what happened, because that shit don't happen anymore. What really happened was this 13-year-old boy was in a stolen vehicle. Hold up, rewind the tape. How does a 13-year-old boy get inside of a stolen vehicle? 13, summer. What were you doing at 13 years old in the summertime? I'll tell you this, I wasn't stealing cars and I wasn't running from the police. So who set this boy up on this path, on this collision course with a police officer's bullet? Who did this to him? You think his mother and his father did it? Nah, his father probably wasn't around, and it was his mother. Single mom. Now, do I know that for sure? No. But how many of these stories do we need to read before we start putting this shit together? What do they call that? Bias. So this little Thundercat, this little savage in training, is out running from the cops in a stolen car. So they give chase. They're chasing the boy. They don't know how old he is. It's not like before he took off, he said, "I'm 13, go." He takes off running. They run after him. They come to a gas station. The kid from his waistband spins around to the cops. Now, if you're running from the police and you want them to know the chase is over, I give up, wouldn't you put your hands up in the air, stop running, and then turn around? Not like this. Now, granted, this is in the mind of a 13-year-old boy, so don't look for too much. Don't count on too much intelligence coming from a 13-year-old boy. But had he not been set up for failure, had he not been screwed over by the people who are supposed to protect him most, he wouldn't even be here. He would be in his neighborhood doing 13-year-old shit. Probably riding a bike or two, playing some video games, hanging out with a friend, probably hollering at some girls. I don't know, kid shit. Forgive me for thinking that kids should be doing kid-level shit. So when he does that and spins around, bang, 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 he gets shot. Fortunately, he's not dead. But if he sticks around in America's shooting range much longer, he probably will be. But chances are it won't be by a cop. Fortunately, this little boy's not dead, but he did get shot, and now he's paralyzed. So Jericho, get to the part where they dragged him like a rag doll. Okay. They shot at him by a gas station. He ends up falling right next to the pump. Now, what happened was when the officers were shooting at him, afterwards they thought that one of their rounds struck the gas pump, so they wanted to get everybody, including the perp, the fuck out of the way unless it caught him, or in case it caught on fire. So now these are racist boss hogs, like they tell us. Why would they move him from the gas pump? Let him stay there. Maybe it's going to catch on fire and burn him to death. That falls in line with the racists, right? But they didn't. They picked him up and got him out of the way. Now, I'm sorry that the officers didn't get down on one knee and scoop him up like the love of their life. But one officer grabbed his feet, one grabbed his arms, and they got his ass out of the way, and they did not drag him. They picked him up and moved him out of the way. Quickly, because they don't know if and when this thing is going to blow. It's not a cartoon. There was no long fuse leading to some Acme bomb. They don't know what was going on. Let's get the fuck out of the way quick. That's what happened. There's no place for common sense. There's no place here for the facts. It's all willful ignorance and emotion string pulling. Pulling at those heartstrings. That's why the lawyers got up there talking about they dragged this little boy like a rag doll. They shouldn't have shot him. He didn't do anything. These cops do. They just roll around looking for children to shoot. How do these... You think when you see lawyers talking like that, you're like, man, you really are a corrupt piece of shit lawyer. You really are. All these slimy, sleazy lawyers you see on TV, it comes from somewhere, and they're real. And can this family, I'm assuming, excuse me for making an assumption, because when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me, shut the fuck up. 13-year-old stealing a car, you think his family can afford 2 lawyers? No, these lawyers must be predatory. They must be looking and waiting for a case like this. Ben Crump must have been busy. I think he's still busy in Minnesota, representing the kid who shot up his fucking neighbor's apartment and got capped by the police. Can they even afford these lawyers? Who's paying for these lawyers? But they know they got the city by the short and curlies, and especially with that googly-eyed fucking crook in office, the sloth from Ice Age. It's Steve Buscemi's sister. No, damn it. She's the Splinter. You know, from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the big rat. Nah, damn it. Anyway, the mayor of Chicago. I can't remember. Michael Keaton. I think Michael Keaton played her in a movie once. But anyway, the mayor of Chicago, you got her crooked racism is everywhere ass. You know those lawyers about to get paid. That's why they jump on cases like this. Because they know it's a payday. And the family this boy probably comes from, they're probably happy. They're probably happy he got shot and got paralyzed. We're about to get a payday. We're about to hit the ghetto lottery. Sick. Make sure you catch me 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I do a live stream, people. You got questions, you got concerns, you got comments, holler at your boy. 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Saturday. Check me out. We talk about shit like this, but in a longer form. But you know how it goes. I try to be done with the left, but they just won't let me. Please subscribe. Hit that notification bell because every time it rings, a piece of shit lefty cries. Utilize the Linktree link. Get your ass over to JerichoGreen.net. I am Jericho Green. Man, I'm out.